Well, good evening once again. Day 157 of the Biden administration, and we close out this week with a very busy Friday evening. Today saw the sentencing of Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer convicted in the murder of George Floyd. The case forced the nation and to some extent the wider world into a reckoning with race, policing, use of force. Chauvin was sentenced to 22 and a half years in prison. Of that, he's expected to serve about 15 years behind bars. Prosecutors had asked for 30. The defense wanted probation. During the emotional sentencing hearing, Chauvin's mother spoke in his own defense, while members of Floyd's family, including his 7-year-old daughter, spoke of their loss.
If you could say anything to your daddy right now, what would it be?
It would be, I miss you and I love you.
What was going through your head when you had your knee on my brother's neck? Why, when you knew that he posed no threat anymore, he was handcuffed, why you didn't at least get up?
My son's identity has also been reduced to that as a racist. I want this court to know that none of these things are true. When you sentence my son, you will also be sentencing me.
The court then heard briefly from Derek Chauvin himself.
At this time, due to some additional legal matters at hand, I'm not able to give a full formal statement at this time. But very briefly, though, I do want to give my condolences to the Floyd family. There's going to be some other information in the future that would be of interest, and I hope things will give you some peace of mind. Thank you.
No one quite knows what that inference was to other information he was talking about. Late this afternoon, President Biden, who has become close to members of the Floyd family, as you know, hosted them at the White House recently. He was asked about the sentencing.
Well, I don't know all the circumstances that were considered, but it seems to me under the guidelines that seems to be appropriate.
3 other, now former police officers also charged in George Floyd's murder are scheduled to be tried starting in March. They and Chauvin will also be tried on federal civil rights charges. We noted there were a number of calls in the wake of the sentencing. And as Chuck put it, some people were satisfied with it, some people were not. But a number of calls for Congress to, at long last, pass a police reform act. Where, to the best of your knowledge, does that stand as of tonight?
Yeah, it seems like we're a few weeks off still of getting an actual bill, right? There's 3 kind of big players here: Senator Tim Scott, the Republican, Senator Cory Booker, and Representative Karen Bass, who have been negotiating. And all 3 of them have said they've been negotiating in good faith, which, you know, is in rare form nowadays in Washington, D.C. They've been talking constantly about the things that they want to see in an actual bill, and they feel like they have a framework. The issue is this is an example of why deadlines in Washington, D.C., hard deadlines, soft deadlines, kind of general deadlines, are bad because they move around quite a bit, right? They bypassed the May 25th deadline that President Biden kind of thrust on them. Senator Scott at one point said June or bust. It seems like bust has occurred. We are moving past that. And they say they have a lot. They still have quite a bit of work to do, even though there's a lot of pressure on them, especially after today, to get something done immediately. They're still discussing and arguing about officers' use of force, qualified immunity, which is whether or not to allow people to sue police officers for any of those deaths that happen, any of that treatment that happens. And that is one issue where Democrats are in danger of losing some progressive House members. Someone like Cori Bush out of Missouri, she called it her red line to have in something about qualified immunity in this final bill that's going to come back from the Senate. So that they still have a lot to work out there, and they're still trying to figure out just what is the right group of things to make sure that this passes both in the Senate and in the House.